Let's talk about widening our base. Okay? So, the reason that, let me back up. Maybe 4 or 5 years ago, when I was part time helping my good friend, my brother, Dr. Dave, the medicine man, with some worldly ventures in his apartment remodeling business. The main purpose in me being there was to assist him with yoga. And so he described to me where he was at in his journey in this lifetime. And it was apparent to me that what he was desiring was to leave some of the previously observed ways of living that he had prescribed to, right? And so many of us have been through this juncture in our journeys where we get to ascend, right? We get more in touch with what our spirit actually is calling for, what our joy is resonating with. And it was in that moment the intuition came that we needed to widen his base. Why? What does that even mean? Well, when we are living in a prescribed way of living, right? A way of living that perhaps we observed in our parents. The natural evolution of this is to want to do more, wanting to be more, knowing that we are meant to be more, right? And so as a result, how do we do that? So we started with, just like, let's say it's a video game, and the last game piece or the last avatar is, banished or, quote unquote dies in the game, right? So the next game piece is spawned with perhaps the same hardware, right? The same type of programming, let's say, and then continues on the journey from where the last piece left off, right? So from there, what do? We journey on and we understand that in order to evolve, the journey is asking us, and in a way requiring us to expand, right? To be ready to move, to be ready to experience more. But the same vessel, the same avatar, the same programming does not lead us there, correct? So what do we have to do in order to make that happen? We have to expand our base. So going back to this story with my good friend, my brother, Dr. Dave, what we would do is we would have these yoga sessions 3 days a week, and we would get him down on the ground and I would spread his knees apart. We would stretch out his legs, right, over his head, out to the sides, expanding his base. So what are we talking about with the base? It's the root chakra. The root is from which all is born, right? That is all that we are. I am that I am, right? And so there are many different physical movements that assist us in unlocking the expansion, right? So my experience with this, and Dr. Dave, he went on to leave that position. He went on to travel, as is one of his deepest joys, experiencing, meeting new people, connecting in different ways. He's a beautiful musician. He is a beautiful minister from Source. brings God into all that he does. And so it was, I'm not going to call it an easy transition, because when we expand, we expose our root to all that we thought was part of us. And perhaps it was part of us. But just like in evolution, we're able to leave parts of us that do not serve us, or integrate all the parts that are. So I think right now would be a good time to read you this journal entry, because this this topic of expanding the base is one that has much to do with the body and with the energetic body, physical and energetic, all of it, right? We're expanding our mind, we're expanding our bodies, we're expanding our thought processes, we're expanding what we believe we can handle, moving more back, or moving more into all that we are, right? This brings to mind the story of humanity the last several years. And not that it's anything new, but back in 2020 or 2021, whenever it was, as we all know and remember, there was a massive global, they call it a pandemic, right? Now, whether you believe that to be fear or an actual, scientific thing, that part is not important. But what is important is the lesson that it brought. Because at the blink of an eye, everyone realized that we had been living and taking our advice, and allowing fear to be moved to us from other people's perceptions, and, to be honest, the will that they had, right? So how did we respond to that? Well, first of all, what was it actually? Spiritually, what was it? So my belief and the messages from my dreams are that it was simply a way for the creation to bring more of us into witnessing a wider range of resonances, right? To be able to witness more of the scope of consciousness. Okay? Let's apply this lesson to a real world thing that we deal with, that we each deal with, okay? This has to do with the shadow, the aspects of ourself that we have been unwilling to witness, right? So anytime that I used to feel any vibration other than what felt like love and light and fluffy, and maybe coining or maybe putting the term positive on it, right? Anything else I would dismiss in my life. I just didn't want to be part of it. And this was me denying a part of consciousness, right? Because if it was not part of consciousness, if it was not within the scope of consciousness, the full gamut of the human experience and even the spiritual experience, then we wouldn't be experiencing it. Everything is of source, right? So that journey took me to, basically I was evading. And it led me to a point where I even left a relationship that I now believe has been divinely orchestrated, right? And through lots and lots of journaling, opening my body, and just being open to experiencing all that life is, understanding that I am that I am. We are all the full gamut of consciousness. It is all within our scope. So after some time, I realized this, that I was simply trying to avoid a physical being manifestation of someone whose reflection was showing me the aspects of this scope of consciousness that I was unwilling to witness previously. thankfully these realizations came and we rekindled our relationship, and it is beautiful now. But that only happened after much, much realization. So I'd like to read you this journal entry. This has to do completely with getting in tune with the body, because this is the mission now that many, many humans are now tasked with from Source. I know this because a few nights ago I had perhaps the most visceral, the most lucid dream that I have ever had. I do get them from time to time very vividly, quite often. But this one felt like more. It felt like I was actually being tasked with a brand new mission, right? One that I've had before, one that I've probably had in lifetimes before. But let's go right here. Let's start here. Okay. Okay. Maybe it's right here. Oh, boy. This is really deep. Okay. Let's start here. Okay. Heart just wants more love from me. Body and heart in their physical forms more than anything. Maybe feelings don't come from the heart muscle. Maybe feelings are produced in the sacral. They get stuck in the physical heart chest space, yes, but the sacral is the one really creating those vibrations. Resonating with loss, perhaps, but it's not about the loss so much as it is for the companionship and the need of being soothed. That's just about all we were missing, is soothing ourselves, reassuring ourselves. Hey body, hey heart, hey, all the feelings that were stuffed down, I'm ready to get to know you. Hey inner child, you're the one sitting down there in the sacral, huh? I'm so sorry I haven't soothed you in a long time. Thumb on the armpit, hand in the air, breathing into the bottom of the gut and witnessing it loop around the back and up, around, up above the back, down the front side, relaxed exhale. That's a breathing exercise for us as well. We can actually, why don't we do that real quick? So what we're talking about is, because the heart meridian comes out on both sides and it goes down the pinky side, right? So what this is talking about is placing a thumb in the armpit. Now, if you are more so recognizing that your feminine divine is asking for more exposure, that would be the left side. The masculine would be the right. So either way, and you can do both even to balance it out. So I've got the thumbs placed here. You can feel like in the center line of your armpit, there are kind of tougher points, right? So I like to kind of find a nice balance between the soft and the hard there, right? Or you can do like the journal says, one side favored and one arm up in the air, whatever you prefer. Now we start by inhaling through the bottom of the gut, where the sacral is, right, below the belly button, and letting it loop around to the back. So pushing that inhale around to the back and letting it flow all the way up, okay? And when we've reached the top of our inhale, we're going to simply hold with that. We're going to sit with that, observe non-judgmentally. And when it's ready to exhale, we'll softly let that come out, flowing down awareness through the avatar on the front side, okay? So we'll start with the inhale through the sacral. Send it to the back. Let it rise. Feeling all of the vertebrae filling up with life force, expanding. Let it be up above the crown now, and let it float down the front. Back to regular breath. You may receive clicks, like I just received a click through the throat chakra. That happens for me within this energetic body when I have touched on something that has been wanting to be expressed. And you can repeat this as many times as you wish, any frequency, any speed that you wish. Let me continue, and feel free to breathe in any style that you deem fit, whatever your being is asking for. This stuff is stored way down in the sacral. It needs to move up and out. In, around, exhale down the aura, down the front of the body. In, around, down. Inflate the chest, heart, and lungs. Feel the root and relax it up the back. Inflate that chest, be with the prana as it moves into the sacral. The purpose of this breath is to bring us into a safe space that we have built with breath and awareness. Call this feeling and awareness consciousness. Call this state homeostasis. Any name or title works, but isn't this space more expansive than needing a title? Part of me believes that this is a shared consciousness. Part of me believes we are simply moving any stuck feelings through the body and the energetic body. Feels like some awareness that these feelings are moving up into the heart. Then the heart is sending them out through the armpit, or the heart meridian. That's a major access point of the heart meridian. If we don't go touching the armpit, it's subtly still there, processing its way out bit by bit. That's the thought formulating from placing awareness on the tension point. And just by clarifying that the realizations are conscious thoughts, they move much more freely. Does that mean that whenever we have perceived a feeling, is it possible some of these were conscious thoughts instead, and the body was just moving through homeostasis, moving the thoughts out not meant for us? Does that mean we have thoughts that we thought were feelings? So when we have thought we were feeling a vibration that was intense, maybe sometimes instead we were mistaking thoughts for feelings? The thought coming is yes. We've been mistaking some thoughts for feelings. And that's just the way that we react to the world, right? Because it's so widespread, this widespread shared consciousness feeling, this human feeling of, oh, there's something wrong with me, or that I am not perfect, or, this and this, I'm fractured, whatever. I've had all of these emotional, traumas, right? This is such a widespread thought. But what if they were simply experiences to be had, to expand the scope of consciousness that we were able to witness? Because isn't that what God or Source is? A non-judgmental, call it father figure, call it creator, whatever you would like. That Source would not be judgmental of any thought, any feeling. Would realize that it's all within the scope of consciousness, right? So, how do we get the body back to cool runnings? Stop fighting whatever is going on. Just like we have mistaken thoughts as feelings, other people have too. And then, when I have mistaken a thought for a feeling, I have also sent an intention to block or tighten or hold on to these thoughts. And that's why they come and go, because they are thoughts. Let's be super grateful for receiving this thought pattern, because who knows, without it, how long we'd have kept holding on to this thought. What is the thought or limiting belief we have been holding on to? Is it the belief that my heart is hanging on to these thoughts? Yes. And the heart began closing itself off because we held on to that thought that our heart was hanging on to old memories that we don't want to repeat or witness again. In other words, the heart does not get fractured. Our perception is that the heart is fractured. We place the filter on life so we too can remove it. What are these situations that can arise that we don't want to experience again? My body is not holding on to emotions on his own accord. I witness a thought, and for some reason, sometimes I mistake a thought for a feeling, meaning I let that thought instantly have a charge, a feeling, and before I can observe what's happening, my body is feeling the manifestation of however I perceive that situation. This means my body is serving me by working so fast at turning that thought into a physical feeling. My body must perceive that I feel strongly about these thoughts. Why would the body, my body, get the idea that I want him to hold on to something? My body only does what I want or what he perceives me wanting. Okay. So there's sometimes a loss in translation. So have I never actually felt less than? Have I just perceived myself to not be equal with everyone else? I have totally thought of worthiness in terms of how much money I've accumulated. I've thought about self-worth in terms of how perfectly I've been able to or not be able to fix others around me. But the truth is, self-worth is called self-worth. How worthy do I think I am to step into all the abundance and everything else that I am meant to have? If the next thought is about how I want to acquire different skills, have certain experiences, improve in some way before I'll feel worthy, then let's hear about it. Let's address these limiting beliefs. Everything we are meant to be, all of the abundance, it's already been ours. That's how we will get to stand in all of it. And these thoughts of, I want this skill, knowledge, experience, qualities, whatever thoughts came, that is about what they are. That is what they are. They are thoughts. The beautiful brain being the thought producer it is. Question: how would a computer look at this? Enter a command, boom, error message. What does that error message tell us? These messages tell us where to look next, to move into that next version of ourselves. It points us in the direction of what to work on next. So what does that mean? Again, it's a thought from the body, not to be confused with a feeling. That's just how the body thinks and communicates, through physical sensations. Let's be grateful the body is sending us his ideas, pointing us in the exact direction we need to go. So when the body is cleaning out old thoughts that we told him to stuff down, let's be grateful. Because body, I haven't always listened, and I'm sorry about that. That wasn't smart of me or considerate of you. Every time I chose to ignore your messages, that was going against our operating system. Whenever you were pushing out the old thoughts, and I thought that that sensation was a bad vibe, that was me going against the operating system. You have never really left homeostasis. That's your amazing intelligence that gives you the ability to adapt to feel how you need to feel and allows you to release what we need released. It is I who held on to the thought that those thoughts of yours were vibrations to be shunned, ignored, looked down on. And I don't feel great about that decision. But honestly, it was a subconscious program. I didn't have the thought to trust you at that time, but I do trust you. Even if one part is needing extension or expansion right now, because that is simply a message for you to focus there, simply a message from you to focus there, release there, love there. So that just gets me to trust you even more. You know what you need. And when I trust you and listen to your messages and move in those directions, you get us where we both want to be and are meant to be. I want and need to feel like we are connected. So I need to tell you that I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you so much. You've always been there and have always supported me. You've always been there, willing and able to give what I ask of you. So from this day forth, feel free to join in with me, guys. So from this day forth, this moment onward, so long as we are connected, I vow to do the same for you. I will love you. I support you. And I listen, and I am there in any which way I can be. Let's just take that in for a moment. Notice if there's a sensation anywhere in the body, and just observe non-judgmentally. For me, it's in the heart. I'm going to apply some loving touch, visualizing this part of the avatar, breathing in, finding the space where the body is asking for the support and the loving touch the most. That is the feminine divine support structure right here in the left side. Perhaps you'll even feel it back in the lat, through the armpit and into the heart. Allow yourself to place your loving touch, and now we'll simply take a nice deep inhale into that part of the body. Visualize it expanding. Sit with it. Dip your head back. And softly exhale with love. Blow out through the mouth. when you come with a message, body, I will listen and give you anything you want, my love and my love. Full inhalation through the gut, inflate through the heart. Through the rest of the avatar, up through the throat. Dip that head back, feel those neck pops. And exhale. Now, body, how may I serve thee? A few nights ago, I had what felt like, and even now feels like, the most lucid dream perhaps that I've ever had. My dreams have been extremely lucid for quite a while. It's okay, Divine Masculine. It's okay for us to share that with them. Don't worry. Don't worry. And Feminine Divine, don't you worry. We're gonna let the creativity go in this bit as well. So, I wasn't in this realm, in this dream. I was in a land, a place that was, I can only describe it really as like bright white, just diamond white, translucent. Everyone shined so brightly. Everything was just, there was no vibration that was not loving up there. Everyone was empowered. Everyone, we all felt just in our divinity. And as I approached, I walked into what we would call like a shop or a storefront or whatever, right? A merchant space. And there was a gentleman in there, and I instantly recognized that this interaction with him would represent my forthcoming mission for this next chapter here. And as we spoke, the intuition came that his body was asking for expansion, to widen its base. And so we did that. We got him down on the ground, we stretched him out, we separated his legs, with bent knees down to the sides, to expand his root chakra, right? To expand this, to let out more of his creativity so that he could step into this wider, more fuller, more empowered, more divine, authentic version of who he is meant to be. And as we completed this God's work, the work that we are doing through Source, as I got into a vehicle and saw that it looked like we were on top of clouds, and I recognized a few more people there that I've met here, it became very apparent to me that this is where the world is at. We haven't known how to handle the expansion of consciousness. Most people have not journeyed into really getting to understand what their masculine divine is asking for, what their feminine divine is asking for, when the worldly identity, in this case J, is the inner child, asking to be parented, but by elements of ourself. This is the expansion that so many of us have needed and haven't really known how to get there. So it is with great pride and with lots of love and excitedness, honestly, that I invite you to expand your base. Whew, that's nice. That's a clue that we're cluing into something that is from source. It moves up the back through our support structure and up into the crown, and then you might get a click, a confirmation that this is tapping into source, our source mission. So I invite you to expand your base. Get to know your body. Get to know where your body is asking to be expanded. Start with the root. Maybe get down on the ground and maybe bend one knee and put that out to the side and lay on your stomach and stretch these parts out. Expand your root. I had an experience recently where I got to understand and actually materialize how firmly I am meant to stand in my base, in my root. It was a difficult conversation to be had through this physical being. It involved elements of delivering the sentiment that was received through the veil being unmasked, being shown clarity as to why particular people decided to do what they decided to do. It didn't come from a place of anger. It did at first, well before the conversation, as I was processing these realizations. It became very abundantly clear to me that there were some inner wounds that this situation was meant to trigger. And the realization came that it is in these moments when we are pushed and pain points are twisted, that these are exactly what the reflection is meant to bring to our attention. So I applied tension. It was asking for me to pay attention. So I paid that tension. I stood firmly after working through the initial reactions of anger, which are a perfectly normal evolutionary step towards clarity. Anger is simply the mask, and many a times it is in our biology that we first get to the anger because something deep has been triggered. And our subconscious, our ego, wants to protect us, wants us to feel whole. So we don't want to dig into that. And that's okay. That's perfectly human, it's perfectly normal, and it's perfectly part of our evolutionary process. So I did, with the help of a beautiful soul who I get to call my close friend, confidant, brother. We dove into it. We dove into the anger. He mentioned observations that were being reflected that allowed me to come into a higher state of being instead of a human reactionary state. Every little aspect of any emotion is showing us something we can work on, something we can heal, something we can evolve. So journaling, for example, is a a very integral part, a very impactful way that I allow my human self to start by expressing the human feelings that are coming and whatever the body is feeling. And then we continue to peel back those layers. And eventually, like what happened with this situation, is we uncover the way that our divinity wants to stand in that moment, wants to show up in that moment, knows how we are meant to show up. Because every moment like that is a fork in the road. We can decide to protect. The ego can step in and run the show. Our shadow can protect these feelings from being unraveled. Or we can choose to peel back the layers. It's uncomfortable. Lots of releasing. Usually some crying, some mucus, some snot, maybe some farts and burps, maybe even a big old shit after. Anyone who has sat with plant medicine understands that that's just part of the process. It's okay. Let it happen. Because mistake this not, my friends. We are in an era of rapid, massive expansion. The veils in much of the 3D has been unveiled. We're being asked to come from our heart space now, so that we are able to discern what belongs in this new state of being. It's no mistake, any one of us, any one of you watching this, we are all sharing in this golden, beautiful era of transition. We are the ones Spirit knows is meant to withstand those. And my experience is that the only way that that is able to happen through us is by expanding our root, expanding our base. So we start with the physical. Start by physically spreading out the base. Expose the root, all that I am. Breathe into your genitals. Breathe. Allow the heart and the genitals to be connected. That root, that foundation of all that I am. Allow the heart to massage there. Allow the mind to express whatever the body is attempting to transmute, and be all that we can be. During your journaling practice, whatever thoughts arise, accept them. View them with the utmost of curiosity. If the body receives a sensation, go directly there. Breathe through it. This is the process of physically transmuting that which does not serve us into that which will propel us where we are meant to be, how we are meant to be. And going back to that moment, that difficult conversation that really asserted me in my root, in my foundation, it shook my physical being. My legs were literally so full of tension and so full of pressure. And I had the intuition in that moment that all of that was moving towards my root so that that could all fill out my being, expanding me into more fullness, masculine divine, dark masculine divine, light feminine divine, dark feminine divine, being the inner child, parenting myself, feeding my soul and all my components, my shadow, my ego, all of it. That is the authentic self. Acceptance, radical acceptance, always leading with curiosity and love. I love you so much. Thank you for being in this journey with me. If you desire a guide to assist you in your journaling, to non-judgmentally observe whatever comes, to assist you in physically expanding your base, to reflect the thoughts from consciousness, from source, that are meant to find you, that have always been yours. Reach out to me. Send me a message. Find me on Instagram at Raja Prana House. Find me on Facebook, J Raja. It's Jai. I'll do my best to answer comments, and I'll do my best to look at channels of anyone who subscribes. It is my source mission to expand the base for as many of us as I am able. So it will be my pleasure, brothers and sisters. Do not forget how powerful you are. Remember.